Hello, friends, good people. Welcome once again with your boy Co-Investor. So today's video is gonna be about news about different stocks that I own, and stick for this one because there is really important news here, important information to get and to understand. Of course, you can always skip through things that you are not understand. But that you don't have interest in. So now I'm gonna get first of all into the Biden plan or the Biden infrastructure. So as we know, or people who don't know, Biden is trying to get through Congress infrastructure plan, or he calls it jobs plan or something like that, which involves, I'm not going to talk about the all aspects of the plan, but it's to support the economy, support people of the United States. But what concerns me, not concerns me, but what has to do with my investment is the EVs, the climate change aspect of it, because he wants to invest 174 billion into climate change. So I'm gonna read an article here from White House government's website, and to give you a kind of information about what he's willing to do. So I'm gonna do this. Alright, so let's see here. Create good jobs electrifying vehicles. US market share of plug-in electric vehicle or EV sales is only 1/3 the size of the Chinese EV market. The president believes that must change. He is proposing a 174 billion investment to win the EV market. His plan will enable automakers to support domestic supply chains from raw materials to parts, retool factories to compete globally, and support American workers to make batteries and EVs. It will give consumers It will give consumers point of sale, rebates, and tax incentives to buy American-made EVs, while ensuring that these vehicles are affordable for all families and manufactured by workers with good jobs. So the thing is here, he wants to, of course, help the EV manufacturers or EV automakers to make EVs. By doing what? By giving them incentives. Incentives, for people who doesn't know what tax incentives, is that the government supports you into buying an EV car rather than a ICE vehicle or internal combustion engine vehicle or gas vehicle. What before it was, or even now, it was like $7,500 per vehicle. So if you go buy a vehicle, let's say it costs, I don't know, an amount of money, the government will pay you back the $7,500. Let's say, for example, that's the tax incentive. So that encourages people to. So it encourages people to buy electric vehicle, help climate change, and of course get something out of it. So he's trying to get that back. We don't know yet if Tesla is gonna be one of those that will get this. Why? Because before, when they had the tax incentives before, they capped it at 200,000 vehicles. So all the vehicles who produces more than 200,000 vehicles a year, they don't get that tax incentives. But I'm pretty positive that in this case it's gonna be different. It's gonna be maybe uncapped, which means any company that produces any amount of vehicles will get this incentive, because otherwise he says he support American workers and he wants to support American-made EVs. What is more American than Tesla? Nothing. So he wants the companies or American companies making EVs in the United States rather than other places. And he talked even about China, that he wants United States to be better than China in terms of EVs and EV sales and stuff like that. And it will establish grant and incentives program for state and local governments and the private sector to build a national network of 500,000 EV chargers by 2030. You see, so he wants not only focusing on EVs and EV sales, but focus on chargers, because you get anxiety when you buy an EV because you think about charging points. You don't want to go wait like you are like 50 in terms like a queue, and you wait like for 2 hours just to charge your vehicle. So what you want, you need an infrastructure that can help the growth of EV vehicles. So the more you sell the EVs, the more charging points we need, because that's how it goes. So they want 500,000 or 500,000 EV chargers by 2030, which is really good. And what we know about Tesla, we know Tesla that they do EV chargers, they do grid or mega packs in energy, they do vehicles. So I think they will benefit the most from this pack. Of course, we don't know for sure. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy Tesla stock or anything else. I'm just explaining my take on that matter. So the thing is, we know that Tesla, as I said, they have their hands in different aspects of the energy, energy vehicle. So they are building chargers everywhere, and even here in Norway they are building a lot of chargers. They are selling a lot of cars. It's gonna be really good for them. I'm pretty positive that 174 billion Tesla will get a really good chunk on that. So while promoting strong labor, training and installation standards, his plan also will replace 50,000 diesel transit vehicles and electrify at least 20% of our yellow school bus fleet through a new Clean Buses for Kids program at the Environmental Protection Agency. With support from the Department of Energy, these investments will set us on a path to 100% clean buses while ensuring that the American workers or workforce is trained to operate and maintain this 21st century infrastructure. Finally, it will utilize the vast tools of federal government to electrify the federal fleet, including the United States Postal Service. This is really huge for Tesla, really huge for Tesla stock. But we don't know if the bill is gonna pass, the law is gonna pass. If they pass it through Congress, I'm pretty positive that Tesla stock will pump a little bit on everything that has to do with electrification, maybe a little bit with hydrogen, and and charging companies and stuff like that. So now that we are talking about this, we're gonna get into the news about other stocks, and we will get into Tesla stock. Tesla Q1 2021 vehicle production deliveries. They did phenomenal. They crashed it. I didn't have they exceeded the expectations. No one had it right. I mean, everyone was expecting them to deliver less. Why? Because they had a fire at the factory. They closed for a couple of days. They had a shortage of chips for components for the computing systems, and still they delivered 184,800 while producing 180,338. Imagine that they delivered almost 185,000 in a quarter, 3 months. Of course, and you see something here, because Model S and X, there was no production. They just delivered 2020 from the previous models. The refresh, they haven't delivered yet. And we know that there is a huge demand for the refresh S and X because they look really good. Everything about them is, perfect. So I would assume that the Q2 of 2021 is going to be much higher than the Q1. And we know that Q1 is the slowest of all quarters, and we know that Q4 is the best. So if they are delivering 185,000 almost in the Q1, I would give them 100, maybe 90 something thousand, 95, maybe 200,000 vehicles in Q2. And if they do that, they are on their way to get to 1 million vehicles this year, and this is gonna be huge for the company. Of course, I own the company, just as a information out there. I have 60% or 60% of my portfolio is in Tesla stock, which is a huge amount. So this is it for Tesla. Now we're gonna get into something else. You see here, stock vesting explained. Why I did this, why I'm trying to talk about this one. Now I'm getting into Bionano, BNGO stock. I told you that I sold 500 shares, right? And now I'm reconsidering maybe buying in a little bit more if it drops below my price target. Why? Because there was some insider buying. And we are not talking about any insiders buying. We're talking about executives, the higher in the hierarchy of Bionano. But what they did something called vesting, which we see here, stock vesting explained. So I'm gonna just read it, and I'm gonna get into the details. With stock options like ESOs or ENSOs, you aren't getting usual shares of stock yet. Instead, you are getting the right to exercise by, just remember this one, exercise by a set number of shares at a fixed price later on. You usually have to earn your options over time, a process called vesting, and you can only exercise vested stock options unless your company allows early exercising. Why did I read this? Because of this. See here, we see Bionano Genomics, the name and the address of reporting person, Stewart Christopher P., who is a chief financial officer. He just acquired or kind of booked a number of shares of 275,000 shares at a price of $7.83. And if you look down here, stock option, right to buy. Do you remember when I said exercise the right to buy? So what they do is they tell you, look, I want to get this amount of shares, but I'm gonna buy it at this price, today's price, which is $7.83 at a 4 years period, because vesting happens in a 4-year period time. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna buy the stock 4 years from now at this price. So they say the chief financial officer wants to buy 275,000 shares of Bionano Genomics at a price of $7.83 4 years from now. Which means, what does it mean? This means it's a bullish sign for the stock and for the company. When you see executives or CEOs buying into their stock, believing that the company is going to do well 4 years from now, it gives you kind of a hint on the way they are going or the way they are heading. So now let's get to the other guy, Chief Medical Officer Chobe Alka. Same amount of shares, 275,000, same price, 7.83, right to buy 4 years from now, which is called vesting. The other guy, Chief Operating Officer Oldakovsky Mark. I don't know if I read it right. Same amount of shares, same everything. And lastly, but not the CEO himself, Holman R. Eric, President and CEO, 775,000 shares at the same price, right to buy 4 years from now. What does it tell us? It tells us that they are confident in their stock. They are confident not in their stock, but confident in their company, which will reflect itself on the stock. So that's why you see, when you see people insider buying, it's usually a good sign for the company. And when I saw this, I figured, oh damn, I might add more Bionano just because of this one. Because you don't see this often executive or CEOs trying to get this option trade 4 years from now, saying that the price will be much higher than the price now 4 years from now. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So now this is it for Bionano stock. Now let's get to Palantir. Now talking about Palantir stock. Palantir stock, they just received a contract from the Department of Energy, the potential value of $90 million, as you see here. Palantir is the awardee, and they have a potential of $90 million in 2026, and $13.6 million current value in March 31st, 2022. This is really good for Palantir. Means they are, getting into the energy business, which is really good when you think about the Biden plan and the energy plan, right? Now let's talk about this one. We are seeing Palantir, but the CEO, Alexander Karp, he just sold some shares of Palantir, and people got freaked out. Why is he selling? The thing is, when you sell the stock, he has the same that we talked about when we talked about Bionano. He has the same options. He has the vesting options. And when you have the vesting options, sometimes you need to be taxed on it. Depends on the type of vesting you have. Is it ESO or is it NSO? So that's probably why he sold. And you could see it in this chart when you see explanation of responses. I'm gonna just read this one. As a result of the vesting of the growth units and the application of the conversion formula, an aggregate of 1.1 million shares. Let's see. And certain of those shares were automatically sold to cover required tax withholding obligations in connection with the settlement of the shares on each of those dates. All the foregoing transactions were conducted in compliance with the reporting person's pre-existing rule. So he had automated sale on his shares, so it has a vesting period, automated sale to cover his taxes. So that's why he sold. Doesn't mean nothing about the company. Is it good now? So this is it for today. I hope you like it. If you didn't get anything, if you didn't get much, just skip through it and look at those details. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and see you on my next video. Crows out.